Well, I always follow your Gundam posts and Gundam videos that you always put in your channel. Let me ask you, what is your favorite Gundam?
Okay. Um, yeah, I've liked a lot of different Gundams over my years, and when I was watching Gundam Wing, I really love Gundam Heavy Arms. He had all these guns, these weapons and stuff. I was, wow, so cool. This Gundam has so many weapons. But then I played this game. I forgot the name of the game, but it was a game where different robots, from different series, kind of like Super Robot Tyson, but it's an action game. And I also played Super Robot Tyson too. But so I played this game. I think it was I forgot the name, but it was a collaboration game with different robots and different whatever during missions. And I used heavy arms, and I came to a shocking reality: is that heavy arms has all these guns and missiles and weapons and whatever, but these weapons require ammunition. So they require ammunition. So what I would play this game, and I would take heavy arms, and then he would be, blasting all kinds of spaceships and whatever. But he would run out of bullets. He would run out of ammunition. And I would be like, oh, what do I do now? The mission continues without me. And I have no ammunition, So it made me think, it's like, heavy arms cannot be the main character. It's a support Gundam. Because heavy arms alone is nothing, You know what I mean? It's just a tactical support Gundam. So it really changed my thinking, that one game, so I stopped liking heavy arms. I mean, I like the design, but it from the top ranking of my Gundam ranking, it went down, And then I played, if we talk about Gundam Wing, on the other hand, Sandrock and Deathskite, they're melee Gundams, and not so many weapons, but heavily melee. And in that game, melee characters don't run out of ammunition, and so you could continually fight for the whole battle. There were no fuel restrictions or whatever. So in that game, anyway. But I would imagine unless it's like Gundam Zero, you have this nuclear reactor in your Gundam with limitless power or something. I would imagine that maybe fuel might be a reality that could slow down your Gundam. But I mean, if we don't think about that, Gundams that are melee heavy or have melee capability are much better than those that don't, I think. Even Macross, Macross was part of the game too, and I've been a big fan of Macross. The Valkyries. It's so cool. Shoji Kawamori's Valkyries that transform, stuff like that. And I always loved those Valkyries until that game. And then I would use the Valkyries, and they move fast. Yeah, they can move across the battlefield. Yeah, they can, case by case, they can change their form. Great. But I found out they had no melee capabilities. So I mean, that was a shocker as well, because I would land on the spaceship, but I couldn't do, I could just shoot the spaceship on the spaceship. It's like, wow, Deathskite could cut this spaceship in half. So so I think melee capabilities in a Gundam is really important, I think. So, but you mentioned you like the new Gundam, very balanced, right? Has long range, short range, fin funnels, all kinds of stuff, and melee. So it's very important, I think, to have melee capabilities. So having melee and the guns and stuff, it's important. So then I finally came down to my favorite Gundam. I'll be totally honest with you. My favorite Gundam is the God Gundam from G Gundam. And maybe people say it's not realistic or whatever, but okay. I'll give you the example from the game. I would play Super Robot Tyson, and you can use all these cool Gundams, super robots, whatever, Evangelions, all these different robots in the same game. So you can kind of compare their value, a strategic value and whatever. And what I found myself using a lot was the G Gundam, God Gundam. And the reason why is, okay, this is the biggest reason. I mean, he's melee heavy, so he can keep fighting. He has a area of effect attacks. Like he could, I don't know, I forgot what move it was, but he could like not only attack one target, but he could attack like 5-6 targets at once if they're in that area. Like kind of like, whoa, not a Hadouken, but like he could damage a lot of different. So he could focus on one and do huge damage, or he could focus on many and do decent damage. And then when he turned gold, he had that Sekiha beam or whatever. He turned gold, and then he could do this really long range area of effect attack, and everything within this zone would get damaged. I said, wow, that's so awesome. In one unit, he was melee heavy, right? So he could fight close contact, and he could avoid a lot of attacks. So like Amurore has the new Gundam, and he has the new type abilities or whatever, and then he has really high avoidance. Like he can avoid a lot of attacks. So can Domon. Domon was physically, Domon is amazing, right? So, but anyway, so yeah, Domon could do that as well. So his defensive abilities were awesome, and his offensive abilities were awesome. And one more point, the God Gundam has a horse. And so like, okay, so like in what do you call the map? Okay, so yeah, some robots can move this much. Zeta Gundam can change into a jet. You can move a little more, and whatever, but God Gundam on the horse could move the whole screen almost. So it's kind of wow, he has a horse and he can move all the way across the screen. So like he had the greatest mobility, he had the most options for whatever. I really fell in love with the God Gundam, and since then I have never looked back, and I like martial arts and stuff, so I can respect Domon. Domon is a martial artist, right? He trained in China or whatever. He's physically strong, and physically he can fight, but a lot of the complaint I have about a lot of Gundam is the pilots are kids. Like you look at even like in Gundam Seed, like Kira Yamato, the guy don't look that strong. Arslan or whatever, you don't look that strong. In a real fight, Domon would kill him. Or there are not many very strong pilots. Like even like Unicorn. What is that guy's name? The main character of Unicorn. He's a kid, right? Not that strong. And Amurore, he was a kid too. He's not that strong. Shaw, he's an adult, so maybe he's strong, but I don't think he's as strong as Domon. So. But anyway, that's the one thing about Gundam, it's like a lot of the pilots are kids. Yeah, even the one different thing is Barbatos. Was that Tekkadan? Iron-blooded orphans. That kid is strong, right? Mika, he's a strong kid, I think. So I can respect Mika. Mika is cool. And okay, so my honorable mentions, I really like Barbatos. Barbatos Gundam is different, very original design, kind of round and still Gundam, and then he has he's melee heavy. Maybe he lacks kind of ranged attacks, but melee is pretty powerful Gundam, I think, Barbatos. So I love Barbatos. Barbatos is so cool. It's a shame that Barbatos was destroyed. Sad days. But okay, Barbatos. The other one I really like is Akatsuki. Akatsuki, it's just basic. It looks like a stray, right? But Akatsuki is gold. And it's maybe you think, oh, it's crazy, gold Gundam. Why? It's a waste of money, waste of gold paint or whatever, But yeah, Akatsuki is basically an astray, right? I mean, basically. But I was talking with this laser scientist one day recently, and we were talking about lasers as weapons, and he said, yeah, lasers as weapons are cool, but they don't work on transparent transparent things like diamonds, and they don't work on reflective surfaces. So I thought about that, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. So what that means is Akatsuki Gundam has reflective surfaces, right? So that means laser attacks would not affect the Akatsuki if it hit, the gold. I was like, wow, it's kind of deep stuff. Well, I guess Hyakushiki as well. So yeah, laser attacks will not affect Akatsuki Gundam. So wow, it's kind of deep. But anyway, Akatsuki, very cool. Other Gundams I like. There's one more. Akatsuki, Barbatos. Oh, Noble Gundam. The Noble Gundam. The only Gundam that looks like a girl that I know of. And yeah, Noble Gundam is, looks like a high school girl, but so cool, I mean, wow, has long hair and very agile and very destructive. I think Noble Gundam has, very similar to the God Gundam, So Noble Gundam, so cool. And Allenby, the pilot of Noble Gundam, was cool as well. I mean, even though she was brainwashed. But anyway, wow, I got really excited about this topic. But yeah, so that's my top Gundams. God Gundam, Barbatos, Akatsuki, and Noble Gundam. But anyway, let me know what you think. Yeah. Anyway, thanks.